Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we are taking a look at Mech Mechanics Simulator, a game that's come out recently by Polyslash, who I haven't heard of before. And as the name might indicate, it is a mechanics simulator game for mechs. Now if you've played like Car Mechanics Simulator, any of them really, you're kind of familiar with what you'll be getting here, except you'll be working on mechs, which is awesome. It retains just the chill nature of the mechanic simulator games, and that's a great thing because it's one of those games that, I personally like building things, at least on a small scale. So I enjoy Gunpla, and I'll get a master grade set, and I'll sit down and I'll spend the next 7 hours making it without really stopping. I might occasionally, take a little break, but nothing more than 10 minutes and I'll be right back at it because I just need to build it. I'm the same with Lego as well. I'm a bit of a Lego junkie. I've got a Star Destroyer, stuff like that, and I just like to sit down and build, and it just takes me over, man. And these games do the same thing. I played it for the first time, I think probably about 11 o'clock on a Sunday. Next thing I knew, it was like 8 in the evening, and I was like, Jesus, where did that go? It's a real time sink of a game if you like this sort of stuff. It also does a nice job in rounding off some of the more annoying aspects I had with like the previous games. So when you get a mech in for repair, the first thing you'll do if it needs it is clean it, and then you'll scan it. And that requires matching a waveform, similar to the minigame in Star Trek Online when you're scanning stuff. It's not complicated, there's no time limit, so it's no rush really. And then your machine will scan the mech and highlight any damaged parts. You then need to take off like the affected limb, and this goes over to a separate sort of service bay, and the parts remain highlighted, and you can mouse over the parts and it will show you exactly the parts that needed to be taken off to access those parts. And then you go over those parts and it shows you the ones needed to take off those parts, and so on until you get to a green one, which you can actually remove, and then you work your way into the part. You actually get to know the mechs pretty well, primarily because there's not a massive amount of them. I think I've played for, let me check, 10 and a half hours, so mostly on that Sunday. And I think I've seen about 7, I'd say 7 mechs, and it does a good job of keeping it interesting even though you've only got such a small selection of mechs. Once you're done with sort of repairing and stuff, I had a huge problem that I thought I was going to mark the game down for, because you got a terminal in your office which is like up a gantry and into its own thing at the other end of the building, and you access the computer there for taking on jobs, completing jobs, and upgrading your facilities. And every time I was finished I was having to make that walk back, and I thought, this is stupid, I hate this. Why wouldn't they just have a terminal downstairs? And then I discovered you can actually buy a tablet where you can pick up jobs and complete jobs, not do all the other in-depth maintenance, sort of upgrades and what have you. But the tablet really made a difference in the game, and it really sort of took away the last thing. I was kind of like, oh man, I wish they'd done that differently. You buy stations. There's additional stations where you can get stuff like derusting, calibration, painting. There's all sorts. It opens up more of the game. A lot of it's optional, like the repair stations that you get are used on broken parts. Now, a lot of jobs will insist upon new parts, but you can get away with repairing a part and putting it back in, or you can repair a part prior to selling it off, and then you'll get more money for it because it's in better condition. I don't tend to use those that often, because, as I say, most jobs prefer new parts anyway, and I'm still making money even by doing those jobs and buying the parts, and I'm making additional money just by selling the parts even if I haven't repaired them, so I kind of stay away from them. You've got a calibration station where you can essentially pilot the mech. It's not a great mech simulator or anything, it's just there to be there, and you need to solve a logic puzzle in order to do it. which took me a while to work out because I'm dumb. But yeah, so you can go around, shoot the mech, targets, turrets, stuff like that. You'll get an extra bonus for the job, but I don't really enjoy the mech simulator. It's not great. It's bare bones at best, and it can be annoying. Like if you have to stand in a circle and defend yourself from about 40 drones that are flying around you or shooting at you, and trying to survive that for a set amount of time, that gets annoying sometimes. I mean, with practice it probably is piss easy, but I'm not willing to put in the practice because I'm just an annoyed fellow, and I'd rather be chill with this game. So you get a bonus for doing that, but as I say, it's not really that important. Some jobs will mandate certain things like painting. The painting I feel could be done better because there are only certain parts of the mech that you can paint, and you have a fill, but you use the fill, but it just covers all of the parts, and then you have a brush where you can go and manually like paint stuff, which is fine. I like the option to do that for the more artistically inclined. I'm not very good at art at all, so I would prefer like a fill option where you could just click on panels and fill in the panels by themselves. One criticism we do have of the game is it doesn't explain things awfully well. A lot of the time I'm kind of like, I don't understand this, but you've given me as much information as you've given me, so I'm just going to have to try and work it out. I mean, I'm sure, the internet exists, so you could go and Google it or whatever, but I'm sure it would be more convenient if it was actually in the game itself. But it is a fun game. I really enjoy it. I mean, taking the limbs off of mechs and stuff and having them in your little bays, and then sort of unbolting stuff and pulling cables and tearing through the stuff to get to the bit that you actually need to replace, then replacing it, and you switch to the assembly tool, and it's really straightforward and really easy to put it all back together again. It's just a super chill game. It's one of those ones where you're like, okay, I've come back from the pub, I'm not quite drunk enough to go to bed, but I don't really feel like playing something where I'm getting quick reflex actions. So like, this is the ideal thing to put on in that circumstance where you can just like, yeah, have a nice time, not worry too much. It's cool. There is you do repairs for I think 4 companies, maybe 5. One of them is like a clandestine company, which is, if the others find out you've been doing jobs for this thing, you'll be soundly told off. I've never found a problem with doing them. I mean, I haven't done huge amounts of jobs for them, but I've done some, and the skies have not fallen on me yet, so I don't know whether that's just to make you nervous about it or what. I mean, for the most part, they seem to pay well, and you get to work on more advanced mechs, so why not do it? There is a time limit on some jobs, but it's only for a bonus, so even if you exceed the time limit, some are pretty tight and challenging actually, so if you want a challenging aspect to get to the game, then there you go. But even if you fail, which you don't always do, sometimes you do, especially if they give you a tighter limit on like more advanced mechs where you've got to remove more shit to get to the bits, then you can fail that. I certainly have. But otherwise, it seems to be, the time limit seems to be relatively well judged in the amount of time that's available for you to go in and do all your part swapping and then come back out and complete the job. I mean, I think the last one I finished after I'd repaired everything, but before I could assemble the limbs again, so there was really not much in it, maybe 20 seconds. So they do seem well judged from a challenge standpoint as well. The robot, you get an android who is present in your work area, and he acts as the tutorial guy. But even when there's no tutorial, he's walking around and saying the same 3 or 4 lines over and over. He doesn't say things like continually. They are sort of like not often, but he does say the same thing. So he does get annoying, and he does get in the way physically, which isn't ideal. I think I just like, I think I'd rather have him replaced with like an AI or something like that. Just something that talks you through speakers rather than physically gets in your way. That would probably be better. But it's. I mean, let me see how much it is for you guys, because I don't think it's expensive. So in is a good British pounds. It is £16.99 currently on Steam. And to be fair, I paid £16 to watch Godzilla vs. Kong once. So if I've gotten 10.5 hours, that's not a bad deal, is it? But it's great. I mean, I haven't had any performance issues. It does. You can't frame cap it, so it will use whatever of your graphics card is there to be used. So if you've got a noisier one like mine, it can cause noise. But it's not a huge issue. It's just one of those little annoyances, I suppose. But for £16, being able to repair mechs, being able to pilot mechs if you really want, you know, it's not great, but you can do it. I mean, it's like when you're able to drive cars in like other simulator games. You know, not great, but you can do it. It's very much like that. I mean, I don't think Polyslash did the simulator games, the car mechanic simulators and all that. Let me check. I'm going to check live as I record, because I own like 2 or 3 of the car mechanic simulator games. So I am literally checking now. Why have I got so many games? Where are they? There they are. Right. So the most recent one, 2018, that I possess. No, they were done by Red Dot Games and published by Playway SA. So just check the publisher as well. It is the same publisher. The publishers for Mech Mechanic Simulator are Polyslash, Heartbeat Games, and Playway SA. So yeah, it's possible, I suppose, that there's some influence there. I mean, they're from the same developer. Publisher, I'm sorry, not developer. And it's from the franchise Playway SA, according to Steam. So there you go. That's why the similarities exist. But you know, working on cars is cool. Working on big giant robots, that's cooler, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, I will leave it there. We will give it a score, and I will be giving this my traditional 7 out of 10. I think it could be slightly tweaked, and I don't think it's not the game that you're going to be going, oh man, I can't wait to get home and, you know, progress my story or upgrade my character, or, you know, it's just not that game. It's the game that you'll throw on when you can't think of anything else to play and have a good time with it. That's the sort of niche these games fill, at least for me. And I think it fills it well. So that's my thoughts on Mech Mechanic Simulator, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. It's 16 quid. No reason not to get it if you can afford it. So fill your boots. I think it's a good game. It's definitely a good time sink, especially if you like building stuff and tweaking parts and stuff like that. You know, it's all good. And there's quite a lot of variety in the stations where you have the different mini games. So yeah, hearty recommendation from me to fill in those nights when you might be a little bit too drunk or too stoned to play something that requires a bit more a bit more reaction time. So yeah, just throw it on and you'll all be good. Right, I've just picked up Outriders yesterday, so if I can get through the connection issues, well, I'll be giving that a good playing, and hopefully we'll have a review of that out for you next week. In the meantime, take it easy, guys.